All right.
Sounds
So,
good.
hello everyone, and welcome once again to Jaipuria Talks with another candid conversation with Mr. Gurpreet Kalra. Let me introduce him to all of you. He is a head of talent development at Tata Consultancy Services UK. He has more than 20 years of industry experience. At TCS, as head of talent development, he is anchored in pioneering comprehensive leadership programs and driving talent development strategies that resonate with over 15,000 associates. His team's efforts center on enhancing the learning experience through the integration of technology and innovative training methodologies, fostering a modern learning environment across the UK and Ireland. He is an alumni of IMCAL, and he is well versed in training and development. Welcome to this episode, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Daneshwar.
Yes. So let's dive directly into harmonizing productivity and well-being. So, in your role overseeing talent development, how do you balance the demands of productivity? Because business has to be done and profit has to be done with the well-being of your associates. Can you share some effective practices you have implemented to create a supportive and balanced environment where the business's profitability as well as the well-being of the associates is well balanced?
Sure. So I can speak for the and thank you for number one having me here, and secondly, some these insightful questions that you have laid out. I would love to give my 2 cents on what we are doing right now. So I can speak for the geography. I'm based out of London, and one of the things that comes to my mind is our industry counterpart uh, once said that employees come first and
Mhm.
customer comes second.
Yes.
So it's very important that employee well-being be the linchpin of your business.
Mhm.
Why we say that? There are studies from Gallup Institute, for example, on how employee productivity or
Mhm.
employee happiness quadruples
Mhm.
the organizational profits and bottom line, has a direct bearing on it.
Mhm.
So it's very important for us to bear that in mind. One of
Mhm.
the center uh, pieces of employee happiness within TCS is called Maitri.
Mhm.
Maitri is a confluence. It's a coming together of people
Mhm.
engaged in various employee happiness and well-being initiatives.
Mhm.
Now, there's something very interesting I learned from a culture expert the other day. I was sitting with them and I was asking them. I said that how can you increase happiness? And they said that with Tata, with TCS, one thing that we have noticed is that happiness is a byproduct of culture. Culture is
Yes.
not a byproduct of happiness.
Yes. Yes.
So what we are noticing is that the culture is of respect, the culture is of autonomy in
Mhm.
the work that we do. There is
Mhm.
a lot of initiatives that cause people to transcend and subscribe to learning
Mhm.
and develop their careers which are aligned to learning. And
Mhm.
consequently, what it does is creates that safe space for people to actualize themselves. And that
Mhm.
leads to happiness, which increases productivity. When I say productivity, I'm also, it's a major market. The UK is a major market. This is where our sales teams are. So,
Mhm.
how would you bring in more business
Mhm.
unless you're feeling great about your
Yes.
brand,
Yes.
yourself, your personal brand? And
Mhm.
when the management encourages that by the virtue of autonomy that they give to you,
Mhm.
trainings that they give to you, this naturally begins to happen. So I
Yes.
think that's my response to the question that
Mhm.
you asked.
Yes, yes. So Maitri is a very unique concept you are talking about, and you have said that the trainings which you give to people. So in these trainings, how do you incorporate resilience and mindfulness? because these are two aspects, and especially in the post-COVID world, in the world where we are already we were highly connected, but nowadays we are 24 by 7 connected, and work from home is another scenario. Earlier it's okay that it's a work from home, but earlier if you are not feeling good you can always take a leave. But nowadays if you are not feeling good, your manager can say, oh, let's do a work from home, and then also you are connected, and sometimes you feel that it was better that I might have gone to office instead of doing work from home. So in your trainings and in your day-to-day conversations, how do you build resilience and include mindfulness also in
Yeah.
your system?
You know, again, I'll go back to Gallup, and it says that people don't leave their organizations, they leave their
Yes,
managers. We
yes.
have 80,000 managers
Mm,
within TCS.
mm,
Okay. These are people managers. So you
mm,
can imagine why it is highly imperative for
mm,
us
mm,
to work with them in their
mm,
happiness.
mm,
So when you do that,
mm,
um, you help a manager become
mm,
more of a leader, which means you
mm,
teach them a little bit of sociology, a little bit
mm,
of anthropology, a little bit of
mm.
psychology,
Okay.
and and by the virtue of all of that, these
Mm,
managers then really understand
mm,
when it is okay to
mm,
let a person switch off
mm.
mentally as well, mentally as
Mm.
well.
Yes.
So when
Mm,
that happens,
mm,
you start to feel grateful
mm,
for who you are working. So our management is by design, it is not by default. So
mm,
all our training programs
mm,
definitely talk on breath work, talk about
mm,
personal self-engagement, emotional
mm,
intelligence, self-regulation,
mm,
helping people regulate their emotions.
mm,
Um, and resilience is a core of it all. In fact, there's a wonderful book out there called Search Inside Yourself, written at Google
mm,
for engineers by engineers, which
mm,
actually talks about how important it is for a manager to search inside themselves before they help others search inside
mm,
themselves, right?
mm,
So that becomes important. So management training, mid-management training, first-time
mm,
management training mandatorily should have and has within TCS
mm,
a
mm,
blend of personal work that a person can do to
mm.
regulate themselves, and then there's contagion effect.
Yes,
If
yes,
you're feeling good, your
yes,
teams will feel
yeah.
good. So as you can see, today
Mm,
is the day that I felt that I needed to work from a certain
mm,
space in a
mm.
certain way. I'm not
Yes,
stressed
yes, yes.
to work. Why
Mm,
is it? Because
mm,
maybe my manager felt that it was all right for me
mm,
to be like this, or I felt
yes,
it was all right. And this
mm,
will have a contagion effect on my teams who will
yes,
feel more relaxed as well. So I
yes.
think it's a give and take, but before you give, you have to take.
Yes, yes. So you have rightly pointed out that it's a give and take, and if your manager behaves with you in a certain way, then your team will also behave with you in a certain way. And this is what the concept of empowerment is called. So it is said rightly that empowered managers make happier teams. So when you have 80,000 managers and everybody might have a different personality, different work style, they might have worked in different organizations earlier also. So how do you build this sense of empowerment, and how do you make your managers feel more responsible towards their happiness as well as the happiness of their team?
Yes. So I think we have to take a couple of steps back.
Okay.
And what becomes very important for any organization as large as a TCS, for
Mm,
example,
mm,
is that we drive. So I
mm,
give you an example here.
mm,
Think about it this way. I heard a story once that
mm,
there was a ship that was
mm,
floating, and when the ship was sailing, it saw that there was a light up ahead. And the
mm,
ship, you would have heard the story. The captain of the ship said, "Get out of my way. This is a warship, and I'm
mm,
coming in your direction."
mm,
And
mm,
and the place from where the light was coming said, "Please maintain your course, change your course. Um,
mm,
I can't move. So get
mm,
out of your way. I'm a warship. I can
mm,
destroy you."
mm,
And the other party says, well, I'm a lighthouse. I'm a lighthouse.
Yes.
So think about it this way, then if you have a lighthouse, which are the
Mhm.
values of an organization, the culture of
Mhm.
an organization, then it becomes very important for everybody, whichever ship they are, whichever uh, direction they're coming from, to
Mhm.
move and get guided by that lighthouse. So we have our five values, which is respect for individual,
Mhm.
integrity,
Mhm.
excellence,
Mhm.
learning and sharing, and I and ex and I'm forgetting one value which is very crucial to us, leading change.
Okay.
Okay, so these are the five values. Now,
Mhm.
if you look at these five values, they are then further broken down into behaviors.
Mhm.
When you train people on these behaviors in
Mhm.
their context,
Mhm.
aligned to their life story, it becomes
Mhm.
very easy for everybody to come on the same page. So I
Mhm.
think values are that lighthouse that
Mhm.
need to guide us, not the other way around.
Mhm.
And that
So
is what sorry, that is what essentially managers get trained on. Sorry about that.
yes, yes. So the most important value which came last was leading change also. And in the post-COVID scenario and otherwise also, we have seen that there is definitely a generational management style. So people who are baby boomers and people who are born between 80s and 2000, and definitely you might have managers or employees who are born after 2000 also, and both of these generations and three generations might be working right now in TCS, and all three generations might have different concepts and ideas about the spaces from where they want to work, the kind of dresses they want to wear, and their notion of happiness also. So how does TCS and your team manage this change when you say that one of the value is leading change?
This is a tremendous question.
Yes.
I would say. So I have a team which is multi-generational. Um,
Yes.
I have a 65-year-old in my team.
Yes.
I also have a 28-year-old in my team, right? And I have people from different countries working in
Countries
my
also.
team
Yes.
as well. So we are a small team, but then there's so much diversity in that small team that we have.
Mm.
So what we have learned is, I think, like I'll go back to my previous responses that for a manager, it's important to be a psychologist, a
Mm.
sociologist, an anthropologist.
Mm.
So think about again, I'm a man of books. So
Mm.
there's a book I read, wonderful book, A Seasons in a Woman's Life, and then
Okay.
there's another book I read, Seasons in a Man's Life. These books are
Okay.
written on lifespan psychology, and what they
Mm.
say is that at 50, the needs are very different from how they are at
Yes.
65,
Yes.
plus how they would be at 28.
Mm.
So if the needs, the moment you understand those needs as a
Mm.
first-time manager, and you go into a training program, into a learning program, which could be whichever
Mm.
mode, um, you start to learn that the need for the generation who is a manager after 2000 is very different from the need at 65. I'm a person whose father worked in the same job for 35
Yes.
years before he quit, and I started my work in the scarcity era. So for
Mm.
me, it is very important to be respectful of my seniors and
Mm.
respect my job, be very serious about my job. But here's a question: somebody like my daughter, who's eight,
Mm.
9 years old right now,
Mm.
when she comes into the workplace, she'll have much more security than I
Yes.
had when I was
Yes.
growing up. So
Mm.
how do you manage somebody like her? If she
Mm.
becomes a manager, what are some of the values that she would have? So
Mm.
it is very important for us to interview those people, ask them straight to their face, how would you like to be valued? But one thing
Mm.
I have seen is, I know is David Rock's wonderful model of happiness, which essentially is called the scarf model. You give
Mm.
status to people, you give certainty to people, you give them
Mm.
autonomy, you give them relationships, and you give them fairness. If you
Mm.
give it to various generations, it cuts across all generations. Or the PERMA theory of Martin Seligman.
Mm.
If you
Yes.
look at PERMA, if you look at scarf, They all talk about status,
Mm,
certainty, autonomy,
mm,
relationship or relatedness, and
mm,
fairness. Then
mm,
it cuts across generations.
mm,
Some people want more fairness, some
mm,
people want more autonomy, some
mm,
people want more relationship. And
mm,
a person who's 50 years old has their son going to the college, a
mm,
team member, and they want to be more connected because they're feeling alone at home.
mm.
So earlier they wanted more autonomy because they had school drops, but now they
Yeah.
want more connection and relatedness
Yes.
because they feel alone at home. So
Yes.
you have to keep sort of dancing
Mm,
to tango better
mm.
with the other party.
Yes, yes. So you have rightly said scarf model and perma model, and the same human being, as his or her situations will change, they will have different needs. So, how do we inculcate these things in the upcoming managers? Like it's very easy to talk about these things between both of us, but let's assume that there is a manager who has technical engineering background and then he has done IM or management program from some good school, and he or she might have never studied psychology or anthropology, and then we are talking about, then we put them in a first manager role where they are managing a team of, let's say, 15, 20, 30 people, small team, but with different generational people from different culture. So what kind of how do you think that, okay, this is how I will design my training program, and this is and a lesson we will learn from your answer for our B schools and academy also.
There's a wonderful, see, you know, I feel that a person who spent so much, they're leaders anyways. They're
Mm,
leading. If you're leading yourself, you're a leader. That's what I say. You
yes.
know, it doesn't have to be you have to lead others.
Mm,
You know, lead yourself, you're a leader. And I'm a strong proponent of Josh Bersin. He's a great thinker in the space of human resources and human capital management. And he says that there are four E's that every um, leader should imbibe in their workspace. The first is called education. Business schools give you that education,
yes.
right? The second is called experience. Now, experience is something that you acquire when you
Mm,
come to the workspace. The third is called exposure. This is coaching and mentoring.
mm,
And the fourth is called evaluation. This
mm,
is how good are
mm,
you at doing what you're doing. So,
yes.
education, experience, exposure, evaluation. I
Mm,
think we all stop at education. I have done
mm,
the training and
yes.
the person's walked out of my room and I think everything's done. But
Yeah.
have we given them exposure via mentoring and coaching? Today we
Mm,
have tools which are artificial intelligence led coaching bots,
mm,
which can ask simple questions. How did you keep yourself happy in the last week? How
mm,
did you help your team member become happy in the last week? Did you
yes.
There's simulations that help you
Mm,
ascertain happiness in your teams. We have a lot of first time manager simulations that we do with our partners, which
mm,
essentially help them become
mm,
cognizant of how their actions are leading toward productivity because it's directly correlated with happiness. So experience, exposure, evaluation, and education. And then there is a model called the 70-20-10, where 10% is education,
mm,
20% is exposure, and 70% is experience.
mm,
So first I said education, experience, exposure, evaluation. Now I'm saying there's
mm,
a 70-20-10 to that. So
yes.
let's not stop at 10. Make sure that
Mm,
there are coaching moments embedded, which are 20%, and
mm,
70% is where the real work is happening and people are
mm,
getting evaluated also.
mm.
So I think that's really that.
Yes. So you also belong to two different cultures. Like you have been born and brought up in India, I believe, and then you are working in UK for quite a long time. And we Indians are famous for defining happiness in a very different way, and we put more stress on work than on life. right? And the moment we go to the westernized world, we realize that, okay, that's another way of living also, where there can be a perfect balance of work and life. And when I'm sure that there might be people who are moving first time moving to Western world to TCS UK also, and when they go after working in Indian IT sector at India itself, and when they come to UK, they might have a culture shock of sort of having this work-life balance. So, how do you perceive that first of all, and what do you think? Indian IT sector at India should teach or should practice, and what should the B schools also practice and teach to students, business students, in terms of work-life balance?
Sure. Raj Raghunathan
Hmm.
at ISB Hyderabad is doing some fabulous work around happiness. You would know him
Hmm.
as well.
Hmm.
I had a pleasure of going through one of his books, which said, "If you're so smart, why are you not happy?" So that's the book he's written, and I think he teaches in one of Western world business schools,
Hmm.
but he has done some great amalgamation between India and overseas. So when I
Hmm.
read his book, "If you're so smart, why you're not happy," I started to wonder, and then I was in India at that time. So he's
Hmm.
written this book contextually for people who are in India. And
Hmm.
there's something very different that happens when you come to the Western world. Governmental policies are
Hmm.
designed in a way that
Hmm.
you cannot
Hmm.
really, uh,
Hmm.
uh, you know, go outside of your number of work. If you're going out of fashion, well, you're up to you. But
Hmm.
the government policies essentially help you. So it's at a policy level that some of the organizations or some of the countries uh, 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 pip happiness over something else. The UK is very close to the Nordics, and the
Hmm.
four countries in the Nordics are in the top happiest countries every
Hmm.
year. Why
Hmm.
is that? So I think there are a couple of things that create happiness here very naturally, which is the um, the 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 squeezed gap or the very little gap in the paychecks of people
Hmm.
at different levels.
Hmm.
That's something that happens as well.
Hmm.
So it comes to the policy level.
Hmm.
Think about it. If at home you have a rule that at 9 o'clock everybody will have dinner together and no
Hmm.
phones at the table, and the
Hmm.
mother or the father have had the rule and the children are there, then the
Hmm.
rule guides that togetherness. So
Hmm.
policies are important, is what I would feel. Having also coming to the second point, what is it that somebody who's coming to this part of the world, what is
Hmm.
it that they should do? I think it's very important to learn that we are a collectivist country,
Hmm.
but when you come to the Western world, it's more individualistic. So
Hmm.
collectivist country, we depend on others for our happiness.
Yes.
In an
Yes.
individualistic setup, you
Hmm.
depend on yourself for your
Yes.
happiness. That's
Hmm.
also very important. You said
Hmm.
work-life balance. Over here, it is life-work balance.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if you're very
Yes.
passionate, then it is work-life integration. That's how
Hmm.
it works. So
Hmm.
so I would say personalize your happiness, mass
Hmm.
personalize your happiness. Think
Hmm.
about what think and there's something I wrote on LinkedIn, Dr. Daneshwar, the other day, that a lot of times people do not read the
Hmm.
total rewards and benefits in the that the organization is offering them.
Hmm.
For example, um, a lot of companies offer bicycle to work.
Hmm.
Did we? Did I know that there was a bicycle to work concept in my office? Did I even uh, reimburse myself by buying that bicycle that I could ride to work?
Hmm.
Think about that.
Hmm.
There's so much that companies have in rewards and
Hmm.
recognitions. Are we reading those policies? Read those
Hmm.
policies. Every organization has a lot of
Hmm.
moments of happiness that you can derive from that organization if you know what the organization is offering you. It's just not the money. The
Hmm.
After some time, money stops making you
Yes.
happy. You
Yes.
know.
Yes. Yes. So, if I may, I would like to ask a personal journey question also from you. That over the years, when you started your corporate life, and now that you are at high profile, so over the years, how did you define happiness at various stages and well-being at various stages, and how did you care for your happiness and well-being? And has something changed over the years? And what were the key lessons you learned along this journey?
Sure. I'll
Mm.
answer psychologically.
Yes.
So, so there's this concept called ocean,
Mm-hmm.
and as we grow old, the size of the ocean increases. Now, what do I mean by ocean? OCEAN,
Mm-hmm.
optimism,
Mm-hmm.
conscientiousness.
Mm-hmm.
Optimism is am I looking at the glass half full or half empty?
Mm-hmm.
Conscientiousness is how dedicated am I toward my work? Extroversion, E, is am I open to networking with people or not? A, agreeableness, am I a difficult person to work with or not?
Mm-hmm.
Neuroticism is N, which is am I nervous or not? As we
Mm-hmm.
grow old, our openness increases, which
Mm-hmm.
means I want more experiences in life. I'm open to meeting new people. I'm open to
Mm-hmm.
going to new places.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, O is not optimism, it is openness. C is
Openness.
conscientiousness. C is conscientiousness. I start to work harder,
Mm-hmm.
longer. I start to enjoy the work. Like they said, even if you're a cobbler and you spend 20 years in the field, you'll be the best cobbler around, and you'll be going to the conferences and talking about how to cobble.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Agreeableness.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, extroversion. Am I open to networking? That has increased in me.
Mm-hmm.
Neuroticism has decreased in me.
Mm-hmm.
Agreeableness is I make it easy for people to work with me. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm a learned optimist who's now open, works
Mm-hmm.
harder, is agreeable, less neurotic, and also I'm seeing that in the mid age that I'm in, my happiness has increased because my need for money has reduced. Well, why has my need for money reduced? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not making a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I derive more happiness with time with my spouse. When I
Mm-hmm.
drop my daughter off to school, pick her up, that gives me
Mm-hmm.
happiness.
Mm-hmm.
I work for an organization that takes care of my happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And I also know that my happiness doesn't come from money, but by reading, learning, growing.
Yes.
And leading change is one of the important things. So, what I'm doing is my neuroticism earlier
Mm-hmm.
used to be what will happen to me in my career? I'm a biotechnologist. I moved into human resources and then training and development. What will happen to me? In 2000, there was no scope for biotechnologists.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, what would happen to me? I was very neurotic. You know, even till 35, I had no idea what would happen to me. But
Mm-hmm.
as you're reading more, learning more, I'm contributing more, talking to me, having myself talk to you at this point in time. I think that learning has given me a sense of comfort and confidence that I will, if nothing works for me, something else will work for me. So keep your saw sharpened. So
Mm-hmm.
learning is very crucial among everything that you are doing, and that helps you in leading change also.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is the change that I'm seeing in myself.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So yesterday I was reading some articles written by you on LinkedIn also about AI and people managers. So do you foresee any role of AI in evaluating or enhancing people's happiness and well-being at workplace?
Think about it this way.
Mm,
I was there's a company I had a privilege of attending the launch of, and they are into AI based coaching.
mm,
So earlier, executive coaching was available to somebody like you.
mm,
Today, executive coaching is available to a student walking into the first year of your college
mm,
because of AI. So
mm,
coaching, uh, and that coaching can be on basis well-being. It could be
mm,
basis career. It could be
mm,
basis improving
mm,
um, the sources of income. It could be anything. It could be
mm,
anything. So AI will have a tremendous impact because AI is very good at learning and very
Mm,
fast at learning. So it's
mm,
going to learn. So imagine a coach called Nadia, and she
mm,
is coaching you, and she
mm,
knows you, and you're working in a company X, and
mm,
Nadia moves, and you move to company Y, but Nadia can move with you, you know,
mm,
because you signed some sort of agreements with them, and she
mm,
takes the tacit knowledge, and she knows you, and as a result, she knows the kind of person you are and how you're evolving. And then
yes.
your happiness led questions are getting asked the same way. AI has so much that it would do. It
Mm,
has to be responsible AI, is all I would say.
mm,
Otherwise, it can get out of hand. It's a wild beast. So it
mm,
has to be responsible AI. And a
mm,
lot of companies are very responsibly working toward
mm,
coaching, toward teaching,
mm,
etc., etc. That's happening already.
yes. Um, since we are talking in the context of IT industry and especially software engineers and IT industry, a lot of their work is while they are sitting down and coding and on computers. Whereas we also know that physical movements, like I was reading one of your article on Bhangra and leadership, right? So physical movement is also very essential for increasing happiness, mental health, as well as well-being. Whereas, especially the Gen Z, I am not stereotyping, but they sometimes complain that they do not have time for all of these activities. Right. So if we feel you as a trainer, coach, and leader, and I as a academician, if we feel that yes, some of these Gen Z need to move a little bit more, but they are not. So, what kind of interventions or activities or training modules do you bring in so that they move a little bit more?
Sure. Let me put it this way.
Mhm.
The movement is a movement, whether physical or mental, is
Hmm.
going to be a result of intention.
Hmm.
Now, that intention has to come
Hmm.
um, from either a shock,
Hmm.
a life experience, a life altering experience,
Hmm.
and 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 that I think can be done very well and was done very well by Dr. Stephen Covey in one of the programs that so I
Hmm.
had the privilege of attending one of the Seven Habits workshop once.
Hmm.
And there's a video called The Big Rocks that I think everybody should watch. It's on YouTube. It's called The
Hmm.
Big Rocks.
Yes.
And sorry,
Hmm.
think about two transparent boxes,
Hmm.
jars, and one transparent jar has a lot of green grains in it.
Hmm.
Up, it's filled up till the top. And now
Hmm.
I'm giving you some big rocks, and you have to put those big rocks
Hmm.
inside that jar.
Hmm.
Will I be able to do so? I don't think
Hmm.
so. But what
Yeah.
is the best way to do that? The best way to do that is that you, in the jar sitting next to this jar, you put the big rocks first and then
Hmm.
put the green grains in. What am I
Hmm.
saying here? We
Hmm.
get caught up in a thick of thin things. What does
Hmm.
that mean? That I'm concentrating on spending my time in doing so many things which will not
Hmm.
give me fruit over a period of time. They're
Hmm.
time wasters,
Hmm.
gossip,
Hmm.
excess of Netflixing,
Hmm.
and long time results of this could be high blood pressure, increased
Hmm.
tension,
Yes. Yes.
isolation, so on
Hmm.
and so forth. So the
Hmm.
moment I realize my big rocks, which is movement,
Hmm.
vacation,
Hmm.
spirituality,
Hmm.
family,
Hmm.
myself,
Hmm.
clients,
Hmm.
all of these are important, then I will prioritize them, and then the
Yes.
green little grains will come. So prioritization is key.
Hmm.
I think it is not about whether I'm moving or not. It's
Hmm.
more about what am I prioritizing? I don't know
Hmm.
the skill of prioritizing.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that is very important. And
Hmm.
everybody can do that because
Hmm.
ultimately I'm also from a very old school of thought. And I believe that there's a lot of reincarnation that happens.
Yes.
So in hearts of heart, we actually are hardwired
Hmm.
through our generational, I would say, leaps
Hmm.
to actually be calm, relax, work out,
Hmm.
exercise, eat healthy, care for others, and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
So take care of the big rocks is my only message to our generation, like my daughter's generation.
Yes, yes. So that was my question. I wanted to ask that any parting message you would like to give to the young generation. One message you have already given on prioritizing. So on the basis of that, if I can ask you one more question, that is that prioritizing is a very unique, new concept, very good concept. Making to-do list is also a very good concept. But sometimes what happens is that when I converse with my students, PGDM students, so they do not feel emotionally attached or emotionally charged or challenged to take up certain activity. They understand that yes, this activity, for example, walking or running or meditation, yoga, playing tennis, they should do it. Their body requires it, their mind requires it, but and they feel and they accept that they should do it, but they do not do it. Sometimes they do not feel the energy, sometimes they are not in the mood, and then they go into a guilt trap. And then I can feel that yes, they are not feeling very happy and active and charged because of that. But then on the other hand, even when they realize it, they are not doing it.
All right. So give them 20 years, they will.
Yes, 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 yes,
So, so in the Western world, we have this phrase called whatever floats your boat.
yes.
Whatever floats your boat.
Mhm.
So I personally feel that you know another video. I think a video that is worth watching is called the smell of a place.
Mm,
It's a wonderful video which so I live at a place where there's a green space, huge green space around my house, and the weather is amazing. So
mm,
even if I don't feel like it, my
mm,
body feels like I should go out there,
mm,
walk, do some
mm,
forest bathing.
mm,
Forest bathing is basically taking in the sight of the trees and calming it down. I should
mm,
run a little, jog a little. The walkways are such. It kind of
mm,
promotes that happiness. And I think with
mm,
the Jaipuri Institute, I have
mm,
looked at your website and the infrastructure is
mm.
tremendous.
Yes, yes.
So my only message is to the folks who would be listening to this is
Mm,
leverage it. Leverage
mm,
it as much as you can
mm,
because
mm,
kal
mm.
ho na ho.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely.
Yes,
So, overall, I think both of us will agree that happiness and well-being is personal responsibility also. And whether you feel it or not, you have to work towards it. And it's a
yes,
personal responsibility also. Right. So,
absolutely,
yes.
absolutely.
Thank you very much for talking with me.
My
And
pleasure.
it was a very candid and very insightful conversation also. We talked about a lot of books, videos, and a lot of management concepts also. And I believe that people who will watch this video and read this interview manuscript will definitely find something which they are looking for.
I wish them very well and thank you very much for inviting me for this
Yes,
conversation as well.
yes.